Now we are live.
Now we're alive.
Now we are live.
Hang on a second.
All right.
Hey, Patriots and Snowflakes. Tig, how are ya?
I'm doing just fine now, Bull. How are you doing?
Hey, pretty good. I just switched over to a different operating system, so that's kind of why I had a little snafu there. I thought I was already on live, so
Mhm.
anyways, happy Memorial Day, and
Happy Memorial Day coming up. Yes, tomorrow. It is a Memorial Day weekend, folks. And remember, if you're out there drinking and partying and all that, just remember, you know, what it's really about. Okay. It's not for us veterans that are still alive. It's not for us, the current veterans currently serving, so much as it is for those veterans who died giving their lives
right.
to the service to their country. Many, many, many have gone before us
Yeah, Memorial
for their
Day
country.
for the soldiers that didn't get the chance to take their uniforms off.
Yes. Yes. They died with their uniforms. You
Yeah,
know, what an honor to die with your boots on if you're a warrior, though. I mean, what
yeah,
that's the way a lot of them want to go anyway, if they're going to go. But you know, it is what it is. It's not a happy thing for several families out there. So
yeah. Well, for many, I mean, a lot of people are, in this boat. But
yeah,
tonight we're gonna talk a little bit about the big, beautiful something,
yes.
something, whatever it is, we don't know, but maybe it'll get there one of these days.
Don't know if it got through the Senate yet either.
Yeah, we'll find out here probably this week. I
Yes,
imagine.
yes, we will.
It's kind of a thing to where these the Congress gets a lot of vacations,
Yeah,
more so than
they don't work for a living. They
no.
rob us for a living. They both sides are guilty of screwing the American public.
Yeah,
So yeah, I could say some really downright evil things on this program, but I won't.
yeah.
Regarding Congress, regarding even some of Trump's picks of
Yeah.
late.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit
Yeah,
later, but
yes, yes. Let's do it. Let's get right
it keeps
on.
reminding me of the two feathers of the same bird.
Exactly,
So,
exactly. Yeah, those
so
feathers.
anyways, getting down to the nitty gritty, what are you smoking tonight, Tig?
Well, it's an interesting smoke here. It is the acid cold infusion tea.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a pretty interesting stick. You were telling me about it. I was like kind
this
of
is this is
wetting myself.
interesting. It is put out. It is put out by Drew Estate. Drew Estate always has good cigars, and acid is always a good cigar. The reason why I found it interesting is supposedly it has flavors of black tea, peaches, cream, and pine, which is kind of goes against what I would normally want in a flavor for a cigar. This cigar has a sweet tip, and it's kind of a sweet, spicy tip. So it kind of threw me off when I put my mouth around. I was like, interesting. It's like sweet and spicy, but a little peppery.
Hmm,
And it's a six and a three-quarter cigar, almost the length of a Churchill.
yeah.
And it's a 44 gauge, kind of like a little smaller than a
Uh,
Churchill, more like a Corona. But because of its length and because of the gauge, 44 gauge, 6 and 3/4, they call it um, Lancerol, a
hmm,
Lancerol.
interesting.
Um, it's a Connecticut wrapper, and the thing is the origin, the filler, um, and the wrapper, everything, the binder itself, everything in this cigar is Nicaraguan. It's
Nice.
a it's a purebred Nicaraguan. Um, so that's according to the information. Um,
Wrapper
and
binder filler.
yeah, yeah, wrapper binder filler, all Nicaraguan.
Nice.
And it's a smooth and mellow cigar. So interesting for a Nicaraguan to have a smooth, mellow, medium bodied taste to it.
Right.
And then with the flavors that I thought would be interesting, I'm like, I don't know about this one. Acid's a good cigar. Drew Estate puts out great cigars, and don't know about this one. So far, though, it's not bad. The sweet, spicy, peppery, whatever the hell I'm getting from the tip is not bad. Not bad tasting cigars so far. Easy draw, smooth, yes. Mellow, yes. The aroma's not bad either. Aroma's pretty nice. Pretty sweet aroma. I kind of like it. It's not.
Yeah, cigars always have a really nice, kind of pleasant smell to them.
Yeah. So right now I'm kind of liking it. So we'll see. We'll see. So what are you smoking there, Bull? I heard you're smoking something I smoked not too long ago.
Yeah, just a few episodes ago, you smoked this Room 101 Johnny Tobacco Knot.
Mm-hmm.
Great cigar.
Veteran owned. Veteran owned.
Yeah, Matt Booth, veteran owned, Semper Fi, Marine. Yeah,
Hoorah!
hoorah.
Hoorah! It's hoorah! Hoorah! If you're in the army. Hoorah! If you're a Marine.
Yeah. So, anyways, down to that history lesson. Okay, so my first impressions of this one here, I'm getting kind of a like almost a graham crackery taste to it. It's kind of a different flavor tones that I started getting right from the start. It lit up and almost had a little bit of barnish a flavor to it, but then it kind of went away real quick. So but yeah, it's a tasty smoke. It's leveling out. It's about half inch into it. So
You'll like it.
yeah. And it's burning
good.
very nicely. So
It's a good cigar.
5x50, blonde wrapper, Dominican. So it's a pretty nice smoke. So Tig, what did you want to talk about first? You want to go into the big beautiful something, or what are you thinking?
Let's talk a little bit about Memorial Day. Not so much Memorial Day.
Yeah.
It is about the troops that have fallen before us. I had a really good weekend here, especially today. Did a long, nice scenic ride on a motorcycle on the Harley with my girlfriend Michelle. And before we were riding, she's kind of nonchalantly said, "Well, maybe we can go and visit my father's grave." And I looked at her and said, "Yeah, we can do that, sweetie. We'll do that right now." And she had this smile and surprise on her face as if I wasn't going to go for it, So she was happy that we did that. I wrote up. Now, the thing about the significance is her father he served in the U.S. Navy during Vietnam. And so to visit his gravesite was nice. I saluted him, would have been a great guy to probably talk to get to know. So I kind of missed the boat on that one, but it was, there's just an aura when you go and you visit the gravesite of any of these veterans. It's just, you feel such a great honor. And you know as well as I do, Bull, about how great of an honor it was to be actually trained and serve with some of these Vietnam veterans back in the day when we were kids, when we were youngsters, 17, 18 years old.
Yeah.
So the Vietnam veterans mean the world to me. The ones that fell, the ones that trained us, the ones that served with us, the ones that are getting up there in age, so that's that. Memorial Day weekend is the anniversary. It was the 15th anniversary that I buried my late wife. She died right before Memorial Day, 15 years ago. So there was that. May 14th, I lost a really good friend and mentor named Bill Kokendorfer. He was my martial arts instructor. He trained me. He was a very physical fitness guru. He finally fell to cancer, and I tell people, if anybody, people that have watched Karate Kid, I said he was my Mr. Miyagi. So it's still kind of hitting me. I still kind of having a little bit of a tough time dealing with it here and there, but and up until about the last few weeks before he died, when he went on hospice, he was still at our local Y on that treadmill. He was still trying to get some stuff done, trying to work at it, trying to stay healthy. So yeah, he was a warrior. I mean, so that's that. Anything personal this past week with you, Bull, before we get on to business?
Oh no, just doing a bunch of stuff around the house as usual, and getting, just kind of visiting with my folks and such, and so there's some things going on there, but I'll talk to you about that later. But
I
yeah,
rode past your house yesterday. I wasn't going to stop in unannounced though, and I seen that you had some.
you're welcome to.
Well, you had some vehicles. I seen you had some company there, so I was just
okay. Okay.
like, well, okay, I just want to.
It's no problem.
I don't want to be an imposer there.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I was gonna stop in and say, hey, where's your bike? You got that running yet?
In fact, I have the battery charger on it right now. So
still,
Yeah.
How long have you had that thing on it?
Just from this morning.
Well, let's get it rocking. Come on.
Yeah, I will.
Let's go take a nice little ride.
I'll go buy one. So
let's go take a nice little ride.
Yeah.
Get that girlfriend of yours on it, whether she likes it or not. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, moving along here, we'll get on into the show tonight.
Yes.
The big, beautiful something.
The big, beautiful something. Trump's calling it the big, beautiful bill.
She's a beaut, Clark.
Ah, yes, indeed. It's going to continue the 2017 tax cuts he had. And folks, for you libtards out there, it's not a tax break for the wealthy. It's also a tax break for the middle class. Okay. It actually is going to put a halt to, what the Democrats wanted to do was increase the middle class's income tax by 22%. That's a big chunk of change, folks. So it put a halt. It put a halt to that agenda that the Democrats wanted to do.
Did you recall seeing anything in there as far as the no income or the no tax for Social Security?
There's
because I couldn't find that on there.
No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. I don't think I recalled anything on the Social Security. Now, the no tax on tips and overtime, that's just temporary until 2028.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to this bill. Some people hated it. Some people loved it. It barely passed Congress. 215 votes to 214. 2 Republicans voting with the Democrats, 1 just voting present. Bunch of dirtbags. But, I guess there was some confusion about this bill. Some people didn't like this bill. I don't know. It doesn't seem like I think a lot of them don't like the fact that it's going to raise the debt ceiling by $4 million. They're going to raise the debt ceiling a little bit. Nobody likes to hear that. Rolling back the Biden era climate and health care thing, the energy program or whatever, the climate change crap. That's just a scam anyway. Climate change. There's going to be a restriction on food stamps, folks, the food assistant program known as SNAP. So currently, in order to
my understanding, Maha's taking a kick on that too. So
what's that?
Maha's taking a kick on it. They're making sure that all the sugars are pretty much off of that, like all the stuff,
Popping candy will not be allowed on food stamps anymore, which is good. I think it's good. Why the hell for? I think in order to collect food stamps and Title 19 and all that crap, I think you had to have a mandatory drug test.
Yeah,
a lot of people are for that too. Mandatory drug testing. You folks can't go out there and be on drugs and shit and spend all your money on drugs while living off the government for damn near free. That's bullshit, man. All right, so y'all have to be drug tested, mandatory drug tests, in order to maintain your so-called entitlements. Border security funding is in that bill. which is a great thing. Um, Local tax deduction imposed by the 2017 Trump tax law and currently stands at $10,000. What they're going to do is that bill is also going to prevent some of the homeowners from getting, hit in some of these states with these huge increases of property taxes constantly, you know. Um, Medicaid restrictions is on that bill. Some people didn't like that. It's now going to impose work requirements for able bodied adults without children, more frequent eligibility checks, cutting federal funds to states that use Medicaid infrastructure to provide health care coverage to undocumented immigrants,
Yeah.
and banning Medicaid from covering gender transition services for children and adults. Yes. So for Medicaid, I'm all for stopping the people's taxes having to go towards sex changes and those surgeries for kids, especially, but adults also. I'm all for illegals not having Medicaid. They are here illegal. They do not have rights. They do not get what we get. They are illegal. They don't have these benefits. Okay, they should not be allowed to have free health care and Medicaid. Period.
No.
So that's what I like about it. The only thing I don't like about it, you see, my daughter and many kids are full disability, so they're on Medicaid. And I don't like the more frequent eligibility checks because that's a lot of paperwork. It's just a lot of paperwork, is what it is. It's just a mess. Too much paperwork. Those eligibility checks basically means a writing and filling out a book. It's a lot of paperwork for what hasn't really changed. A lot of these people that were born with disability, that's always going to be disabled. There's no need to have more eligibility checks. They're fully going to be eligible. They're good. Some of them are on disability for life.
Right.
They're going to be because you look at their medical records, nothing's going to change there. Extra chromosomes or whatever the heck they were born with.
Right.
So I don't know. It's but most of it's pretty good from what I'm looking at here. And even with the able-bodied people that work, there's still limitations as to how many hours they can work when they have a disability and stuff. So they're still not going to lose their Medicaid if they're working. In fact, it might help because some people might say, hey, I'm able to work a few more hours. I want to make a little bit more money, and this is going to help. Right. I can still get my Medicaid and I can still work, so that might help. That might be a good thing. Yeah. And so also, here's another thing on top of that. The NFA, National Firearms Act of 1934, which should still be abolished. Okay. But they had a ban on them and the ATF had a ban on the suppressors and silencers for firearms.
Yeah, with the hearing.
If you want, the hearing, it muffles the sound. Yeah. Well, and if you wanted one, you had to pay an extra $200 tax stamp, and then you were on the list. They had you on their list.
Well, they'd actually send you the stamp for it and to go.
Yeah. So now they lifted that ban. So now they lifted that tax stamp. So now people are going to be free to buy silencers and suppressors. And because of that, the cost might go down because the cost on those suppressors was damn near about as much as the whole entire rifle.
Right.
Or fire or pistol or firearm.
So that actually got passed.
So that's in the bill.
Oh,
so that might come down as well. The price in suppressors and that, because of that, might come down as well. But here's what I say. With this whole entire bill, I'm going to touch base on the Second Amendment because it wasn't good enough for the Second Amendment. Okay, the suppressors, that's fine. But the National Firearms Act of 1934 still puts restrictions on the Second Amendment, still violates the Second Amendment. The act should have never been passed because it was a constitutional violation. Okay, that should be abolished. NFA should be fully abolished, along with the fact that they should abolish the ATF, the most unconstitutional bunch of government thugs there is. And they have no right to regulate firearms. They have no right to regulate or legislate because they are not legislators. They should be abolished in that bill too. So it's kind of weak on the Second Amendment, if you ask me. Now, about this bill, it barely passed. And now it has to go to the Senate. And already you got two asshole senators saying they're not going to vote for it. Okay. One being what's that? One being China Mitch McConnell, that treasonous bastard. He don't care. He's retiring. He should be actually put in prison for treason, that piece of shit. And Lady Graham. Okay. Lady Graham, who only cares about whether or not he's going to get kickbacks for funding Ukraine, or get kickbacks for funding Israel, or get any kind of kickbacks and money and profits from the war machine that he supports, the military industrialized complex, because that's all he cares. These guys are betraying their constituents by voting against this bill in the Senate. And now you've got them two. Now, what if the other two vote against it? That being Sue Collins and Lisa Murkowski, which are notorious for voting against Trump and their fellow Republicans every time they put up a bill. Well, then the bill dies.
Yeah.
Bunch of treasonous bastards. Like I said, like you said, it is what it is. Both parties suck. Both parties do not represent us. They represent themselves. Both parties are guilty as charged.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the swamp, the so-called deep state, they're supposed to be getting taken care of too. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio have begun a restructuring of the National Security Council, cutting nearly half of its current 350 members. A White House official involved in the planning said the cuts are designed to target Washington's so-called deep state. The White House believes the NSC is full of long-term bureaucratic staffers who don't align with Trump's agenda. Well, they're deep states, so they don't align with real patriotic conservative agendas anyway.
Right.
So hopefully they do something with that. I really have very little faith in the Trump administration these days, nor do I have faith. I have never had faith in Congress, but I'm really kind of disgusted.
Yeah.
And what I've seen so far.
And it all boils down to is term limits. I can't say enough for it. I just think if we can get that term limits passed, we need
to cut the seats in half completely.
Yeah, just like we've been saying from our very first episode. That was our biggest thing, is we need the seats cut in half.
Yeah. I don't know, but this big, beautiful bill, I wouldn't call it big, beautiful, but I would say it's a pretty damn good bill overall.
Yeah.
I mean, overall.
There's been a lot of, it's just because of the monstrosity of the number that's involved with it. There's been a lot of talk saying, oh, we don't need this. This sounds like Biden spending all over again, and
yeah,
I think that, it's a good bill.
A lot of cuts also involved. So I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. Some people are criticizing it. Some people are for it. It's catch-22, but I see a lot of good things in this bill too. You can't have everything, people. Right. You just can't,
Right.
So,
but there's something in there for the middle class for a change, instead of getting fucked every time.
There's going to be a $500 increase in the child tax credit too.
Well, that's good. And they also didn't they make that a law where if you're paying child support, you get the deduction.
Mm-hmm. Something like that. I don't know. I don't pay child support. I don't know. I'm not up on that.
I know, but neither do I. But I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I think that part is in there.
But yeah, so Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, you should be impeached from office if you vote against this, because we're sick of your shit. You're just a bunch of treasonous bastards. We all know that Lindsey Graham made over $1 million in kickbacks from giving money to Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because they funneled it back into a few prominent members of the Senate and the Congress that supported the constant giving money to Ukraine. So we know that Lindsey Graham made $1 million or so, made more than $1 million worth of kickbacks for supporting Ukraine constantly financially. So he's stealing our money. He's stealing the taxpayer dollars, because the taxpayer dollars went to support Ukraine and not under the consent of most of the American people. And then to turn around and give the taxpayer dollars to Ukraine only for it to get funneled back and given back to some of these politicians such as Lindsey Graham. That's theft. He just stole your money, folks. He's a piece of trash. I don't have a problem
with that. Just like I said, man, term limits, we need to get rid of these fuckers. You know, they're just
get rid of Graham. Some of these people need a gallows. That's what they need, the gallows. So there you have it. You know, I don't care. I don't care. I you know, it's treasonous. Hey, anybody that ever watched that movie V for Vendetta? You know, when he blew up Parliament at the end. That's not all I wish would get blown up, but I'm not saying that somebody should do it, nor am I saying I would ever do it. I'm just saying I'm saying if it happened while they were in session, I would giggle my ass off. I would giggle my ass off.
Yeah.
So there.
But we're not saying that or inciting it.
We're not inciting anything. I'm just saying if it happened, I wouldn't shed a tear. In fact, I'd giggle my ass off.
Yeah.
Because these people deserve it. Because they do not represent us. They are thieves.
They represent themselves, man.
They're thieves. They're corrupt, white-collar criminals at its finest. So there.
Yeah.
And that's a fact, Jack.
All right, moving along, Tig. We wanted to talk a little more about what's on my mind, Tig, is that's kind of one of the things that we were going to talk about was on our minds and such. As I've been looking at our numbers for the Red Shoes podcast.
Yes. Piss poor.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Coming from Rumble,
Yeah, I don't know. A little bit of shadow banning there. Can't take it. Don't like the fact we threw out a few names. Don't like the fact that the Red Shoes has to do with pedophilia and has to do with some awful, heinous things they're doing to children.
And the biggest thing, Tig, is there's a ton of videos out there that are far worse than what we've even said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, what we've said was nothing in comparisons to a lot of these other videos that I've come across.
You wonder though if that video wasn't there wasn't some sort of snafu behind it too.
That was shadow banned. It's a simple term for it. But
meanwhile, some of these other podcasters that are getting millions, thousands and thousands of viewers are just utterly boring, and they're programmed. Yeah. Clear your throat again, Bull. I don't think I. Yeah.
Did you hear that one?
Yeah. Joel.
That was kind of
not very interesting.
I better take a drink.
You better.
The biggest thing is it's got their, they got all these fancy fucking guests. And who needs a bunch of fancy guests?
Yeah. Who needs boring talk, boring monotone too?
Yeah.
Who needs people that are afraid to say the F word once in a while? People that are afraid to say certain things once in a while. Oh, God forbid we might get banned. God forbid we might get censored. Well, you know what? We do have a freedom of speech, and we should be using it, because if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
All your freedoms.
Since we're talking about different sites and such, I want to give a shout out to YouTube, Twitch, and Rumble for hosting us tonight. So,
yes, thank you.
Yeah, and we'll be on all of your audios. So, that'll be later after this is done. But
yes, the audio. They'll get the audio. They just gotta wait until we're done.
Yep.
You want to catch us live, though, catch us live. Then you
Yeah, and throw down some chat. I started it out. Smoke them if you got them.
get to see the facial expressions and everything else.
Yeah,
Anybody
hey,
got
Larry,
anything?
you're on there.
Yeah. People, come on. There's nothing
Yeah,
better
hey,
than
I had an update from
Sunday.
Larry.
Larry, you out there? Hey, Larry, are you out there? Larry from the Convention of States of Southwestern Wisconsin. Are you there? Nothing?
You can keep talking. I'm just
Keep talking. Keep talking. What
yeah.
should we keep talking about there?
Well, how
How's the
is
cigar, Bull?
yeah, I was just gonna ask you.
Oh, mine's
Good.
pretty tasty. It's not a bad cigar. It's pretty tasty. It might be a little too sweet for some people, especially on that tip. It's a sweet tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little it's creamy, it's smooth, but it's got a little bit of spice to it. You get that black tea flavor a little bit. Not sure I'm really tasting a lot of pine that it said was gonna have, and peaches and cream. I do think I taste a little bit of the peach, a little bit of fruitiness to it. Um, God, the aroma is nice on this though. Man, these acid cigars have such a beautiful aroma.
They do. I that's one thing I do like about the acid cigars is just the aroma that they give off is just really nice.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty good. I'm still getting kind of a very light cinnamon, touch from it, but that graham cracker's still sitting there, and they're saying you're supposed to get notes of butter, which I'm not getting. And then
Yeah,
marzipan, so I'm
I
not
don't
getting
recall any butter in that smoke
no.
that I had. Try to find those Room 101s. Try to get some of those other ones too if you can find them. I haven't seen any of them locally,
Right.
but he's got a few of them out there, a few different named ones out there that I'd like to get a hold of them and try some more Room 101. I might try to find his site and see if I can just order a couple online.
Yeah.
Stick because it'd be interesting to taste more of his cigars.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um. So, were you getting at something there, Bull? Before you were looking onto something there, you were trying to.
Yeah, just give me a
Find.
second here. I'm just reading through what he sent me.
Okay. Well, what Larry sent you. Okay. Well, meanwhile, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr. had a viral and a heated exchange with the Senator Patty Murphy, the Democrat from Washington. What a piece of crap she is. During a Senate appropriations hearing last week, that was supposed to focus on budget priorities for his department. The exchange between the two went off the rails when Murray accused Kennedy of sprinting down the road to illegally impounding billions in funding through intentional action and incompetence. She highlighted a number of programs which fall under his preview that Kennedy has considered altering or omitting. Kennedy's comeback, he came back with a mic drop response that tied decades of growing health problems in America, if me find it, to the senator. He said, Senator, you've presided here, I think, for 32 years. You have presided over the destruction of the health of the American people. Our people are now the sickest people in the world because you have not done your job. That's Kennedy coming back. Data and yeah, and data and history back up his argument, by the way, too. Um, so yeah, pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah,
cool
all
how
right.
he made a point there.
I scanned through Larry's letter.
Make America healthy again.
Yeah, maha. I scanned through his letter here a little bit, and it's basically just an urgent call to action to help push North Carolina to victory. They want us to sign an open letter to North Carolina so it become the 20th state to call for an Article 4 convention.
Yeah, they need like 23 states, don't they?
Yeah, but they're approaching 34 from what it sounds. So if they get North Carolina and Ohio, which is the next one that's looking really promising, and Idaho, that'll give us 34.
Idaho
And I
should
think that's what they need.
Idaho and Ohio should not be a problem.
Idaho might be a problem.
You think? Well, yes.
That's a pretty blue state.
It's not all that blue though. You're thinking of Oregon. Oregon's very blue, but Idaho is usually pretty conservative. And
Yeah.
the Convention of States really is about the freedom of the states and in the Constitution. It's not really too left and too right. It's pretty common sense, is what it is. Everybody should be on board with this. Except for really radical lib jobs like Illinois, New York, and California. Illinois, by the way, is a very, very red state. It's only a couple counties that make a big difference every year that they have an election.
Yeah.
Cook County from Chicago being one of them. That fat ass Fritzker piece of shit garbage. It's the governor there. He's got to go too. Actually, bring out the gallows for that treasonous fat bastard.
Yeah. Well, speaking of bringing,
I'm pretty sure. Looking at him, I'm pretty sure he's ate a few children in his day too.
The Rope and Tree Club.
Yeah.
We kind of haven't spoke about that in a little bit, which is kind of an interesting concept.
We got to come up with a new rope and tree list. Unfortunately, I think it'd be mostly rope.
Yeah.
Mostly rope and very few tar and feathers included in that. Well, or we could just tar and feather them and then give them the rope.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Bring back 1776, folks.
Hey, did you see that video I sent to you about the AG?
Bondi?
Yes. We spoke a little bit about it beforehand.
Bondi is a problem. I never liked her from the start. I knew that there was a suspicion when they didn't circle the wagons around Matt Gaetz and pretty much let him, basically have to resign, or I think they pushed him to resign from being there. Matt Gaetz was going to eliminate all these corrupt three-letter agencies, and Matt Gaetz would have already gotten to the bottom of this Epstein list. But Bondi had some personal dealings with this.
Well, she was the AG of Florida, so she had already arrested Jeffrey Epstein for this.
Yeah, and she did nothing about it.
She ended up leaving him go.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder why she's talking big and tough about this list. Then she gets the list, and all of a sudden it gets shoveled under the carpet. Now, here's the thing. They didn't want Matt Gaetz because they knew he would have got the job done. And I have a problem with Bondi's also the fact that in Florida, she wanted to bring about the red flag laws, which is highly unconstitutional and highly a violation of the Second Amendment. I don't like her. I've been suspicious about her the whole entire time. I don't know why Trump didn't see the fact that she was the dirtbag she is, the treasonous dirtbag she is. And folks from MAGA, Patriots, Republicans, conservatives, you better wake up. Better wake up and see that she was a bad Bill Barr type of pick.
Yeah, and Trump, what are you doing, man? Get her fucking gone, man. We don't need a Bill Barr. We don't need another Bill Barr. Period.
Mrs. Bill Barr now, Miss Bill Barr, whatever the. Yeah.
What is the deal? What is it going to take?
And I'll tell you what, these so-called tough guys, Dan Bongino and Cash Patel.
Yes.
Yeah. They really changed their tune too.
Well, three of them.
Yeah. Cash, Mr. He wrote the book Government Gangsters, and yet now he's only boasting about picking up the drug cartel members and stuff like that. But Cash, weren't you going to do away with the deep state? Weren't you going to get the swamp creatures? Weren't you going to get the corrupt criminals out of DC? Weren't you going to deal with Epstein files, the names and the guilty parties of Epstein also? How about you, Bongino? Because back in 2023, Dan Bongino was suspicious about the Epstein deal, and now he turns around and says, he did commit suicide. Really?
Yeah. And with no explanation
fast, didn't you?
No explanation. This guy is very He's very articulate with his wording, and yet he could not come out with a fucking an explanation on why all of a sudden he's had a change of heart. Oh, I read the file, and it, according to the file, he did kill himself.
Many years ago, a rock star wrote a song. Many years ago, a rock star wrote a song called "Take the Money and Run."
Yeah.
Take the money and run. You guys, it's funny how many people talk tough, and then they get into a position in DC, and all of a sudden they take the money and betray us all. A bunch of filthy traitors is what you are. A bunch of dirtbags.
Yeah.
You know what? Trump picked a Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio. If you people ever looked at his voting bill, looked at his debating Trump back in 2016, he was deep state all the way. So it makes me wonder if I can trust the entire Trump administration altogether. And I don't know what Trump's doing, because I know that Trump really pissed me off when he knew all about Fauci, and don't tell me he didn't back in 2020, and that let him go, let him continue.
Yeah. Where are the
whatever
high
happened to
level
that?
arrests?
How come Fauci isn't getting arrested?
Where are the high level arrests? Why isn't Hunter Biden indicted? That laptop was very incriminating.
Fauci should be arrested. Clinton should be arrested. Obama should be arrested. Not only is Obama highly treasonous, not only was he guilty of spying on a campaign, but Obama was guilty of actually transforming America and bringing communism and Marxist ideals to us, to the people, and also selling us out to Iran, our enemies, and China, and giving them money. And not only that, he was illegal. Folks, he has never been a legitimate citizen to ever run for any kind of seat, let alone the president of the United States. He's a Manchurian candidate selected. He's totally illegal. People need to hang. Literally, according to the Constitution, people need to hang. Treason. All up in DC. This is disgusting. And nobody's getting nothing done. There is no justice. None. All these bad, evil monsters are all getting away with it. All of them. And you know what? We all voted for what we thought was going to be justice, change, ending corruption in DC, getting these people indicted, and we're seeing nothing. And for all you folks out there that keep telling me, oh, well, it's only been this year, only over 100 days, only so many months. Give it time. Give it time. Midterm elections are coming up, folks. Time? We don't have time. We don't have time at all. And I guarantee you, if there's some kind of screwball shit going on like it did in 2020 in these midterm elections, and they lose the thin majority they have, and it goes back to the Democrats, it's all over. Yeah. It's all completely over.
The biggest thing, Tig, is if the Democrats take office next election cycle, we're fucked. I mean,
America's dead.
They're going to come after us.
America's already dying, and you folks don't even know it because you're not doing nothing about it. You stand up and say, oh, praise Trump. We got in. We're going to do great now. Well, things are feeling good now, but you never go by that. Don't be deceived, folks.
And realistically,
we are very close to losing this country again.
Realistically, Tig, the economy is not really picked back up.
Not as great as you people think it is. Oh, gas prices are the lowest they got low over Memorial weekend holiday. Hey, folks, let me tell you something. There's no reason that the oil should be anything over $50 a barrel. Right now, it's $60 a barrel. Okay? Don't tell me gas prices are falling. Let me tell you something, folks. Gas prices right now should not be over $3 a gallon. In fact, gas prices have fallen under that in certain areas, but in certain areas it hasn't. Gas prices for 87 octane regular should not even cost more than $1.89. And it was back then 4 years ago before Biden took over. Well, the actor for Biden took over.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. If you look 4 years later, it should still not be much over $1.90 a gallon. It's bullshit.
Hey, they
And
just had
don't
a
tell me, don't tell
message
me,
come through.
don't tell me the groceries have gone down. But I don't see it in a lot of areas, folks. Iowa National Guard being sent to Syria. Any thoughts on this? Yes, I know what she's saying. Okay, folks, this is another topic. This is one I should have brought up. Um, Folks, the government's not telling you something. Neither is mainstream media. We have a very unstable region in the Middle East, but Syria is very unstable.
Yeah.
Maybe you should all ask your representatives, the government, the media, how come troops are being deployed to Syria? How come your National Guard is being deployed to Syria? Not just your National Guard, but other troops are being deployed to Syria. Why? Why is our military being deployed to Syria?
Now, isn't Syria where they are building that huge complex?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, supposedly between that and Gaza. But here's the folks. It's an unstable region, and the new leadership in Syria is just as bad, if not worse, than the
Right.
old one.
Yeah, it's gonna make you wonder what's going on there because that
Meanwhile,
or whatever his name is.
meanwhile, Israel is still fighting so-called Hamas, Mossad, and meanwhile, the CIA is in on it too. and meanwhile, supposedly Trump has distanced himself from Netanyahu. Okay. Meanwhile,
supposedly.
we still have a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. Meanwhile, we've been kind of quiet about Iran too. What are they up to? Meanwhile, North Korea is still waiting in the shadows, still doing things with China. Folks, we got rumors and rumors of wars, kind of like Bible prophecy. But let me tell you something. Syria is the prelude to the final battle of Armageddon. Now, some people say Armageddon is going to be a spiritual battle, but if it's written in the Bible correctly and if it's prophesied correctly, it's supposed to be a final actual war where Gog and Magog come down from the north to attack Israel. But it comes through Syria. Syria is the prelude to all that, because there's going to be a lot of instability and a lot of fighting in Syria probably soon. Why else would they send troops over there? They send National Guard troops usually to support regular active duty troops over in the Middle East. We were supposed to be done with wars over there, and yet it looks like we're setting up a presence there. This is all based on a lie. It's all based on Zog, and a lot of troops would tell you this, and a lot of veterans. And here's the thing that goes back to Memorial Day. The sad thing about Memorial Day. They have been lying forever on our last wars about freedom. It has never been fighting for your freedom since probably going back to World War II.
Right.
Okay. Our freedom was never threatened by Iraq, Afghanistan. Our freedom was not threatened because of 9/11. Our freedoms were not threatened because of radical Islam. They were not threatened. In fact, it was all about money. It was all about oil. It was all about elements. It always has been. It's all about profits. The military industrialized complex, it's always been about profits since then. Now, not taking anything away from our veterans. They fought for their country because they believe in their country and the Constitution. They love their country. They've done service to their country and service to us. But the sad thing about it is they've gotten screwed over. They've gotten screwed over, and we've been lied to about freedom. Okay. The only one that's dangerous, that endangers us, that wants to take away our freedom and continues to take away our freedom and threaten our freedom is yours truly, your government, and the corporations that they've sold out to. That's the ones, and your three-letter agencies, and Israel, who we have licked the asshole of for how long, giving billions and billions to them every stinking year to build up the most powerful military in the entire Middle East. And you wonder why countries around them hate them so much. It's not about the people. It's not about the Bible, folks. Okay. The Bible, God's chosen people, the Jews, the Israel, the nation of Israel, that's not the nation of Israel you see today, folks. We have nothing against Israel. We're not anti-Semite here. We love the Jews. We love the nation of Israel. We hate their government. Their government is corrupt as the United States government and then some. Okay, their government, their intelligence agency, as well as our intelligence agency are well the blame for 9/11. Well, the blame for all these stupid wars that have been going on. They've funded both sides, Hamas, the terrorists. They've funded the Israeli government. It's all been a tit for tat, funding each other. And all for what? Profit. Profit. Killing people, their own included, for profit.
Yeah. So, do you want to talk a little bit about our lists of cigar smokers? You want to do that in our next episode?
Oh, we got to continue the cigar smoke. I got over 50 prominent figures, members, people that have smoked cigars.
We're almost at an hour.
Yes, we are. Okay, but we can wrap this up real quick with a few names. You said you had presidents and leaders. You want to run by it since
yeah, I could start off with some of the early ones that I came across, and you can work your way into the newer ones. Some of the prominent ones.
Got 10 minutes. Let's go.
You're
on the clock.
Ulysses S. Grant. He was always fancying a cigar. He never had a brand that he chose.
No, he didn't.
He used to have those little cheroots.
Yeah. Medium sized.
Yeah.
Cigars. Strong flavored though.
Yeah, he liked the stronger smokes. James Madison.
Hey. You know, Ulysses Grant was known to smoke up to 20 cigars a day. Yeah. Don't know if it's true, but that's the thing. That's what they say.
Right. Yeah, anywhere from 10 to 20 cigars a day, and it's in fact he always. Almost every picture he had a cigar in his hand or something, you know, or in his mouth, one of the two.
Yeah. Moving on.
James Madison, he was another one. Let's see here. Chester Arthur was another one. Benjamin Harrison, William McKinley.
Yes.
And going into some newer ones, Tig, what did you come up with?
John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy liked cigars and whiskey. He liked them hand in hand. Yes, he did.
What whiskey did he like? Do you know?
Don't know. It didn't say. The Prime Minister of England, Winston Churchill. You know Winston Churchill, the one who did his famous speech, "We're going to fight them everywhere." Yes. He was a well-known cigar aficionado who preferred Cubans, and he kept a good stockpile of them at home.
Yeah, another one was Theodore Roosevelt. He was an avid cigar smoker as well.
The best Roosevelt that we had for president, not that other commie, FDR.
Yeah, he actually had a special cigar holder designed for him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'd like to see what that would look like.
I'm going to name a couple generals here pretty quick.
And William McKinley, I said him. He smoked about 18 cigars a day, so he was a stoker.
Wow. People that work for a living can't have the time to smoke that many.
Yeah, right. Let's see who else. How about Billy Clinton? He likes cigars.
Billy Clinton smoked cigars. In fact, Hillary Clinton did not. The first lady at the time did not like his cigar smoking. She actually set a rule that there would be no cigar smoke in the White House. So poor Willie.
Didn't he have a little room off the Oval Office?
I think he had a smoker lounge where he had filtration and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but no smoking inside the regular White House.
Oh wait, maybe that little room was like the Lewinsky room or something. I forgot.
Oh, you
Sorry.
mean the Oval Office? The Oral Office?
The oral office.
The Oral Office. That's
Billy.
what we renamed it to back then. If I was Billy Clinton, I would have walked in the room in the middle of the night and purposely dropped a cigar in the bed with her in it.
Yeah. Let's see who else you got
A
there.
burning bed. Who do I got? One of the greatest generals of all time, and I always say to people he was right. Well, actually, two generals, both I think were right, and that's what they had in common. General George S. Patton. He smoked Cubans. He preferred Cubans. No particular brand name, but he carried a large humidor everywhere he went. In fact, he had troops transport his humidor in a truck, a big truck, everywhere he went. Can you imagine having one job, only one job under General Patton?
Yeah, right.
And that was to drive his humidor truck and his cigars and protect his cigars.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to the Cigar Dudes podcast. They're new. They actually are following us now on Stars, Bars, and Cigars.
Cool.
And they don't have any videos out yet, but they sound pretty promising. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing an episode of theirs.
Maybe we can work with each other.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. We can have them on our show, and
we can have a whole full show on cigars, a full discussion on cigars, the ins and outs and everything, brands and types and everything else, and the whole 9 yards.
Cigar Dudes podcast.
Yes. Another general that smoked cigars, Stormin' Norman Schwarzkopf.
Yeah.
And he was our era. He was our general. Yeah. And he was also right, folks, by the way. He was right at the end of Desert Storm, a statement he made that went against George Bush, and he was absolutely correct. By the way, he was a great general, the last great Army general, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Stormin' Norman smoked cigars, so, I don't think he had a particular brand that he smoked. In fact, when I was reading on it, I didn't have a whole lot. He didn't have a whole lot that was
some of the
mentioned.
Other ones. General Andrew Jackson, he was a smoker as well. Him and his wife both.
His wife.
They both smoke cigars.
Oh, we'll get into a later podcast where we talk about females that smoke cigars.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Got a few of those.
Yeah, there's a few. There's a handful of them. In fact, one that smokes cigars, well, I'll mention later on, she looks like a few cigar wrappers I've seen.
We'll have to get into that one later.
Yeah. And I'll burn her. I'll burn her like the cigar she smokes.
Like a Maduro wrapper?
I don't know. She looks like a Maduro wrapper, yeah. I don't know if she smokes the Maduro wrapper, but I tell you what, it matches her.
Is it a moldy one or?
I don't know. She's pretty moldy looking. We'll get into that. Naturally a lib turd. Yeah. So, but yes, but we'll get into that later in another podcast where we will talk about prominent females that smoke cigars. And there is a few of them, folks. In fact, there's one lady that we know that has her own cigar line and smokes cigars, and her daddy smokes cigars, and she makes great cigars.
Yeah.
So Karen Berger.
Yep, she'll be one we talk about.
Karen Berger, boy, she'd be something to have on the show, talk about cigars.
Absolutely.
We need some cigar smokers to come on our show and talk about cigars so we can get back, so we get in the cigar thing too.
Hint, hint.
Yeah, hint, hint. Not just about just current events and politics, but it'd be great to get more involved and in depth in cigar smoking and stuff.
Calvin Coolidge, he wasn't.
Calvin Coolidge, yeah.
Yeah,
he was the president.
He had a cigar shop.
Oh wow! So he smoked.
Oh yeah. Both him and he met with the Boston Athletic Club leader, and they both sat down with big fat cigars.
Stogies. You know, another future show I'm going to have is the top 20 cigar smokers of the 20th century.
That'd be good.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one.
Yeah.
I wrote that baby down. I'll have that on a future segment. So
Is this are these ones that we're gonna vote on? That's the top 20.
these are ones that were voted the top 20, but I can
Oh,
add some
okay.
to the list and skew
Yeah,
it. Say, now,
we
here's the
can
top
do
20. Now,
40.
here's my top 20.
Yeah,
You know,
we can do a top 40.
yeah.
The first top 20 will be the ones previously voted, and then we'll do our
We'll add to our list of 20th century cool ass cigar smokers.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a few. There's a handful of them, actually. There's a lot of famous celebrities, musicians, entertainers, politicians, you name it, military people that have smoked cigars. And so, you know, we got a big enough list where we can talk about these people and stuff. And I do have a list that has also some of their favorite cigars that they smoke too in the future. And
yeah,
that's
so cool. And I have a list of some more as well. Let's see here. Gerald Ford, he was another U.S. president. He used tobacco on a regular basis. He was more of a pipe smoker, though.
Mm-hmm. Well, George Patton, the general, he occasionally smoked a pipe as well, but he was a big cigar smoker, so you know, too. So that was his thing, his bigger thing.
Right. Richard Nixon, he smoked occasional cigars. He did a ritualistic cigar puffing as a statesman-like gesture with other leaders.
Well, let me tell you something about this cold infusion cigar from Acid.
Yeah, I want to wrap her up with that.
Well, I moved the wrapper up a little higher so I could continue smoking more. Let's get down there, but that's a mistake. I moved the wrapper up, and that's when the taste started getting harsh. Otherwise, it was a very good smoke, surprisingly, for what it talked about as far as its flavors. The tip stayed sweet, if you like sweetness. The aroma stayed wonderful. The smoke, overall flavor was great. It drawed easy. It drawed even. Stayed lit for the most part until I got lengthy with talking. The wrapper is very good. The wrapper stays intact very well. This is a grade A cigar, folks. This is a very highly recommended cigar. It is smooth. It is mild. It's good for beginners. It's good for advanced smokers. But yeah, anything by Acid, really. Acid is a cigar brand put out by Drew Estate, and you never really can go wrong with Drew Estate cigars. And Acid cigar, I recommend actually the infusion that I smoked tonight. There's one called the Blondie. I've smoked.
Had that
yes,
before.
that's a fantastic one. I have smoked almost every Acid out there, and Acid cigars are really, really good by Drew Estate.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. This one, I give it an A.
Yeah.
It's a very good cigar.
Is that a personal, like A is like a 90, 92 or 93?
It's in the mid 90s at least.
Okay.
You're never most people most like Cigar Aficionado, most groups like that, cigar ratings from cigar groups and publications, very rarely would you see anything past a 95. You know, right. So this one here, I would give it a 90. I'd give it a 90 to a 93, somewhere in there.
I'll have to pick one of those up.
You know, anything in the 90s is a grade A, folks. Anything in the 90s would be a grade A, completely. So anything, if you get any lower than a B grade, it sucks. That's an everyday cigar. So then an everyday cigar, a cheapy cigar, if it's really, really good, you give it a C for being really, really good for being the cheap cigar that it is, the everyday smoke. But, you know, that's just me. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. That's not I'm not the authority on that, of course. So, but Acid Cigars by Drew Estate, very, very good. All of them are very, very
Would
tasty
you say
cigars.
would
Sweet
you say
aroma.
that's more of a advanced smoker cigar, or do you think that's
No,
a
I
good?
said I said before there that it's one that a beginner can
Okay,
enjoy
I didn't
as
catch
well as
that. Okay.
advanced. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's an overall, it's a great smoke for anybody. Anybody.
All right.
Some people might not like sweet aroma or sweet tasting cigars. If you don't like sweet aroma and sweet tasting, then it might not be for you. But
What I found usually if you're out with a group of people, those acid cigars are just right, because
they like the aroma, so
yeah, it's
you know
kind
they
of
can still
alluring. And,
stand around you without
yeah,
choking.
yeah,
Yeah. So a lot of them will say to you, "Hey, that's got a nice aroma to it. That cigar." Then
yeah,
you got a good cigar,
yeah.
and people can
And Drew
stand it.
Estate never fails.
Never fails. Drew Estate is a great company. Love
Yeah,
them. So you got a final word on that cigar of yours?
yeah. This Johnny Tobacco Knot, yeah, it's a pretty good smoke. I would say a rating on this, I would say it's probably in the low 90s. I wouldn't say it's a high 90s or middle 90s. It's about a low 90s. It's stayed pretty consistent with the smoke all the way through. Very, very easy to smoke. Very well constructed. The wrapper didn't fall apart. I did take the band off and kind of moved it around a little bit, but I put it on just so people can see the little astronaut dude there.
Yeah, with the shovel. With the
Yeah, with the
shovel.
shovel to shovel the shit that the
We're
moon
dig
landing is up
we're
against.
digging up the bullshit that the space program is dishing
Yeah,
out.
lies from the tablecloth.
Lies.
So, but yeah, very good smoke. I would say it's a little bit more in depth than a beginner cigar. I would say it's more of a intermediate type smoke. It's not real harsh, so a beginner could smoke it, and it would probably be on the on that tippy tail of being a little bit harsh for a newbie, but um, it's a good cigar. I'd definitely do this one again.
Yep. I would like to try some more of his cigars. Room 101.
Hey, did you want to do just a touch of trending news? Maybe just a couple minutes. Do you got a
You know,
couple things?
you can do some trending news. I really don't have much trending news
All
here. I
right.
don't
Well, I came
actually don't
across
have
something
any
that was
really to
pretty
talk about.
interesting. I came across Daily News. They reported that the PLA scientists revealed a tech breakthrough. It's the world's fastest coil gun rifle that is capable of firing 3,000 rounds per minute. According to the experts, this will redefine warfare. Um, and who knows for sure if it's actual thing, but rail guns shoot like a little small projectiles, and they don't need like your traditional black powder to actually accelerate the projectile. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting.
In some weird news, in Arizona, in a shocking case of domestic violence in Arizona, a 76-year-old woman identified as H. Benson was arrested after allegedly shooting her 38-year-old son during a dispute over video game noise. Authorities say the son had gone for a walk to cool off after the disagreement, but was shot in the stomach upon returning home.
No,
Wow. Yeah. Oh my
some
gosh.
nasty shit.
Okay, folks, if you're in your 30s, don't live at home with your
Mm.
elderly parents and don't be playing video. If you're 38 years old and you're just playing noisy video games in your parents' home, you got some serious issues. Now, if this 38-year-old had a mental disability or was disabled and living with his mother, she flipped her wig, man. Man, you kill your own son? What the fuck's the matter with you?
Yeah.
Sick bitch.
Another piece of tidbit that I came across again through the Daily News. EMG World Robotics Competition hosted its first competition. It was a mecha fighting tournament with robots.
Hmm.
I mean, these were actual standing up, humanoid type robots. Piss out of each other, and it was pretty brutal.
I think Terminator was telling you what the history was going to be. The Terminator movies.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have real lifelike robots now. In fact, some would say that the former president once in a while had a stand-in robot. So, besides an actor, of course. But then again, you're telling me I'm a conspiracy theorist. So okay, the truth shall come out one day, more so than I've already discovered, folks. Really? The thumb?
Yeah. No, he was always like trying to shake some individual's hand that wasn't even there.
Yeah, he would turn and stand and walk like a robot and stuff.
So what's your parting words, pal?
My parting words are the same as they always are. If you're not suspicious or a little paranoid, then you are not prepared.
My parting words this evening are going to be, remember, liberalism is a mental disorder.
Yes, it's a sin also.
Yeah. And stop spraying our skies.
Stop spraying our skies. Stop polluting.
Do it.
Stop putting shit in our food and in our drinks too.
Yeah, I thought RFK was going to do a better job in cleaning.
Oh, he better start. He better get on it.
Yeah.
Time is wasting.
Junior, we'll get at it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for following Stars, Bars, and Cigars tonight on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitch. And we can be found on audio on all of your favorite streaming platforms. With that, we're going to roll.
We're out of here.
Listening to Stars, Bars, and Cigars. Two conservative vets telling it like it is. The rally cry for those who appreciate bold truths, served with a side of mayhem.
Roger, outside to side before that's all. We'll keep him sweating until we see Butcher 3. Out.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. And if you didn't, well, why are you still here, snowflake? We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, follow us on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and hear our precious voices on all the streaming services. Until next time, keep the spirit of freedom roaring.